Hello everyone and welcome to Farming Simulator 19. This is one of my all-time favorite games. Absolutely love this game. I'm excited to take you guys with me. So the first thing we need to do is figure out where we are going to set up our farm. We are on farm manager mode, so we don't have any property yet, just money. As you can see here, there's a lot of different fields to work with. I like setting up here on this field. This is where I'm going to go ahead and buy this. This is where you can buy the animals, and it's where you can also sell animals, and it has a sell point already there at it. Now I'm going to make it my own kind of deal anyway, but first thing we need to do is buy a harvester. I'm going to go with the TX32. It's only 100 grand. It's cheap. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but we're on limited funds right now, so this will get us started. The field that I bought to be our home base is already planted with wheat. So we're going to be able to harvest the wheat, and we'll be able to bale up the straw and all that kind of stuff and sell that. I need a header for the harvester. I'm just going to get this one because it can do the crop that's on the field right now. I can also buy a corn header, but that's future James's problem. Right now we just need something to get started. So I'm going to attach this header. This is a wonderful, wonderful game. It's so relaxing and so fun to play. And my favorite aspect of this game is the fact that you're building your own business, your own farm. You have a set amount of money to start with. Let me switch all the controls the way I like them. See, I want traffic off. I want dirt off. All this is going to stay the same. We're going to move the plant growth to fast. Plant withering off, crop destruction off, periodic plowing off, lime off, weeds off, and autosave off. The reason I do all that is because you want the plant growth fast because it takes a while for the crops to grow. And if you don't have it set on fast, you're going to be sitting around doing nothing. Crop destruction, if you run over your crops, it ruins them. I like to drive through fields. I like to not plan out how I'm going to harvest the field so that I don't have to worry about running over crops. If you turn off crop destruction, it takes that completely out of the picture. You don't have to worry about it. I turn traffic off because I don't like going super slow. I want to go as fast as the vehicles can possibly go, and when you have cars in the way, you can't do that. And turning the dirt off is something that the players that have played this game for a long time know, but a lot of the newer players don't know what that's for. It will actually cause your vehicle to deteriorate, so you have to take it in and get it fixed. Listen to the sound. As you zoom in, it gets louder. As you zoom out away from it, it gets quieter. Isn't that cool? But the more dirty your vehicle gets, or your machinery gets, the worse the condition is. So then eventually you're going to have to take it in and get it worked on and fixed up. Otherwise it won't perform properly. If you turn the dirt off, then you don't have to worry about that either. Now there's a lot of people that like to play this super realistic, and they give you a lot of grief if you turn all this stuff off and all that, but you know, it's okay. I always say do whatever the hell you want. However you want to play the game, it's cool. Just enjoy it. That's why it's there. And I think it's not cheating if there's an option to do it. It's only cheating if you somehow hack the game to where you do something that's not supposed to be done. But I also wouldn't include mods into that either, because I have a ton of mods for my game. And there's a lot of really cool mods that you can get for this game. You can get everything from like a government subsidy that pays you like $150,000 an hour for nothing, just to give you the money. You can do that if you don't want to struggle to buy machinery. You can just have all the money you want and get as much machinery as you want. And the cool thing is you can place as many of those as you want. So literally you could buy a field and fill the entire field with those, and within an hour or two you could have hundreds of millions of dollars. And then you could literally buy anything you wanted on the game. Now part of the fun of this is building your farm up, struggling in the beginning, building your farm up to be able to afford new machinery, to be able to afford the different animals, all that kind of stuff. That's part of the beauty of the game. That's one of my favorite parts of the game, really, is the build-up. I love the managing of the farm, the running of the farm, the figuring out where I'm going to put everything and how I'm going to do it. It's just extremely fun to do, I think. Now, this isn't everybody's cup of tea. I get that. And you might look at the title and say, farming. What the hell would I want to do a farming game for? That doesn't sound fun at all. But believe it or not, it is crazy addictive. You start playing this game and literally hours and hours and hours will go by. This video today is going to be probably about an hour long, because that's what the limit is to record on my Xbox. So it'll be around that length, and you'll be amazed at how quick it goes by and how little actually gets accomplished in that hour. I have literally spent 10 hours at a time playing this game and not even realize it, and just kind of looked up and it's morning. Now, one thing you can do on this game, which is super cool, is hire workers. So I'm going to line this up, get it to where it's lined up to start harvesting, and then when you press the B button, it just hires a worker. Yeah, I did it right there. And so now the computer will just do it on its own. It'll harvest this field by itself. Now, the reason I want to do that, let me show you the straw coming out the back there. That straw you can sell as well. You can set it so that it doesn't do that, so you don't have the straw to pick up, but that's a commodity that you can sell. It's not worth a fortune, but it's worth something. And also, once you get animals, pigs and cows are going to need that straw. Horses might as well. I think horses do as well. I don't really mess with horses much on this game because it's kind of a pain in the ass, to be honest with you, because you gotta ride them every day. And I know that sounds cool and fun, and at first it is, until day 5 or 6, when you've spent time just running around in a circle for like 5 minutes with every single horse you own. And by the time you add it all up, you've spent, an hour or two just running around in circles every single day that your game is going. And it gets to be a super pain in the butt. So this tractor here I'm going to buy, of course, Redneck Orange, is very, very cheap. I'm going to get this thing for a song. That's great because I do not have a lot of money. I'm going to upgrade the engine because it'll give me more horsepower, enable me to use more things. Because I need a tractor and I need a trailer right off the bat, because I have to be able to get the wheat from my harvester into my trailer so I can sell it. So I'm going to go with this. Let's see. Do I want anything else on it? I think it'll do the way it is for now. As long as I have a better engine on it so that I have a little bit more horsepower starting off. Now later I'll get a much better tractor. I'll get one of the large tractors that has like around 400 horsepower. So I can do almost anything with it at that point. But as I said, this is just to get started. This trailer will work. It holds 14,000 liters. So that's plenty. Because I think the capacity of the TX32 is only like 5,500 liters. So I can take almost 3 full loads of that before I have to worry about it. I'm looking at balers here. This baler is kind of cool. I'm not going to buy it because it's for making silage bales. But check this out. The back has a wrapper on it. Did you see that? And the bale comes out and then it gets wrapped by the wrapper and then it goes out. But this is the one that I'm going to buy. It is a square baler. The advantage to this baler is that you don't have to unload it every single time it gets full. You just keep on trucking with it and it shoots the bales out the back. Later on, I'm going to be making pellets. And I'll show you that machinery here in a little bit once I get all this going. Once I make pellets, I will buy a different baler because I want the small baler that makes like 1,000-liter bales because I can pick those up with my hand. These bales I have to use a forklift to pick up or a front loader or something like that. I'm going to buy this trailer here too in order to pick up the bales from the ground. The advantage to this trailer is it has auto load. So as you drive by, the bales get loaded on the trailer. That might sound like it takes some of the fun out of the game, But believe me, after you spend a couple hours picking up individual bales with a front loader and trying to get them to stack on a trailer correctly without falling off, you will pray for an auto load trailer. So that'll work. That's Redneck Orange as well. So here is my tractor, my trailer, my baler, and my auto load bale trailer. So right now what I need is this trailer. I'm going to take this on up to the farm so that when the harvester gets full, I will be ready and it can empty into this trailer. If it's not full by the time I get there, I will probably come back down and grab the baler too, because I'm going to have to make trips to get each one of those anyway and take them up to the farm. So I'll be doing that in between. Once I get the baler up there, I'll start baling up the straw that is on the ground that was left over when we did the wheat. Because I'm going to do that entire field. I'm going to pick up all the straw from that entire field. And I'll probably buy a few other fields as well, since I have over $700,000 right now, so that I'll have more crops to sell. It'll kind of fuel our expansion. Eventually we're going to get into doing animals. I probably will start with sheep, because all you have to have for sheep is grass. You just have to feed them grass and give them water, and they'll produce wool that you can sell. It's not worth a great deal, but it's fun. The great thing about sheep is you get to mow. So I'll buy a field and plant it with grass, or I'll buy one that already has grass in it, and we will plant it, or we will mow it. Either way. And we will end up with a whole bunch of grass. And I'll either bale the grass up, or eventually I might buy a loading trailer or something like that so that I can store the grass. I have to buy a silo that can hold grass, which is the one I like is around 300 grand. And I'm not going to buy that yet, because there's other things that I need to spend this money on first. So once I get a little bit financially more stable, then I will purchase that and we'll begin to build up. But eventually we can get into doing pigs, we can get into doing cows. There's a lot of cool stuff, and that's why I chose this field to buy as my home base, because once I get all this harvested and I get all this picked up, I can literally build everything right on this field. Now that might be a waste of a big field, but in this particular map in Goldcrest Valley, the only place that has any real flat land to build is the farm that they start you off in the beginning if you start on the easiest level. And the problem with that is there's not a whole lot of room. And I need a lot of room because I want to have multiple animals. I want to have all kinds of stuff going on by the end of this. So I need a lot of room. That field is large and it's relatively flat, most of it. So it'll be a lot easier to place stuff on. And I'll get into that when I actually start placing animal pens and buildings and all that kind of stuff. You'll get to see that whole mechanic. It's kind of confusing and it's kind of difficult to do correctly because it takes into account the elevation of the land and all kinds of stuff. And so if you place it, it will automatically landscape the land. So if you place it on a slope, it's going to fill the rest of that slope in order to place it flat. And that's going to cost you a ton more money. And you're going to end up with one side of it that you can't get onto because it's just a big giant hill. But I will teach you how to do it without having that happen to you too much. The secret is to remember what your starting price was and try to find a place to place it where that price that you're going to pay for it is as close to the starting price as you can possibly get. What that'll mean is that there'll be less landscaping being done, which means you're going to end up with less hilly areas that you can't get over onto very easily. That'll all make sense when we actually get into doing it, but that won't be for several episodes because I have to build up the money first. So we're almost back to the store. We're going to pick up the baler and take it back up to the farm. But the best part of this game, in my view, is just the building of the business. That's the greatest thing. Because you start with nothing, really. Or if you start on the new farmer mode, which is the easiest mode of the game, you start with a couple tractors and a harvester and basic equipment, and you start your farm right in the middle of the map at a place they have marked out for you with like 3 fields. So you have a good beginning, but I like doing it on farm manager mode. In that mode you have money, but you don't have any property, any equipment, you don't have anything. So basically it's like you went and got a loan from the bank for X amount of money, and now you have to go and try to start a farm with it. So you have to buy the equipment you need to buy the land, you need to harvest, you need to sell, you need to plant, you need to fertilize, all those things. Now, one thing I'm going to be doing a little bit of in this series, starting out, is kind of a sneaky way to do it. One of the things in this game you can do is buy fields. You just watched me do it with our home field. But when you sell the field back to the bank, you get the same amount of money that you paid for it in the first place. That can be exploited. And the way I exploit that is I will buy the field. I will harvest the crops that are on the field. And then I will sell the field back for exactly what I bought it for. So at the end of it, I end up with all the crops that were on the field are now in my possession. And I didn't lose any money because I sold it back. So then I can take the crops and go sell those and make a profit off the field. So if you're planting like soybeans, say, I might make 70, 80 grand off that field when I sell it back because I've got that many soybeans off of it. If it's something like wheat, it's going to be substantially less because wheat is not worth near what soybeans are worth. A lot of people look down on that. They say it's an underhanded way of doing things. But I say if it's available to do, then do it. I don't see anything wrong with it. You're still doing the work of harvesting it and everything. I mean, yeah, you're not saving up to buy a field and then planting the field and then, fertilizing the field and all that kind of, you're not going through all the steps when you do it this way. But you'll still be able to do some of those steps anyway, because once I get this field completely harvested, I will probably replant it with something, at least a portion of this field that I'm not using for buildings and stuff. I'll probably plant soybeans here because they're worth the most. And then you will go through the whole process of waiting for them to grow and fertilizing them and all that kind of stuff. But there's nothing saying you have to do it for every single field. Now you can see that the worker has stopped. That's because his tank is full. He can't hold any more wheat. So what you do is you come up here with a trailer underneath of his pipe. Let me zoom in so you can see. And then it unloads the entire harvester's worth into your trailer. You just sit here and wait. I'm going to look here at some of these other fields while he's unloading. I see you got growth. We were on fruit types. This is growth. Anything that's yellow or orange is fully grown. If it's red, that means it's potatoes or sugar beets and it's fully grown. White is cotton when you're looking at the fruit types. So here we see we have corn. That's the orange. I can't do nothing with corn because I don't have the proper header for that yet. So I'm looking for oats or soybeans or canola or wheat or barley or something like that. So let's look at these two fields, 23 and 24. So here we have oats here and cotton in the other one. So I can definitely use the oats. So I'm buying that. And then I think we had oats up here as well. Yes. Okay, let's see if they're fully grown. Yeah, that's orange, so they're fully grown. So I'll buy this field as well. Now you can see my money is going down because I'm buying these fields. But then once I harvest them, I'll be able to sell the oats off these 2 fields, and I'll be able to bale up the straw that I get from it, and I will be able to sell that as well. And once all that is done, I'll sell the field back to the bank and get my money back that I paid for it, and I'll end up a lot to the good because I will have sold the crops and the straw. Just checking to see what other... Okay, that is soybeans in field 7, and that's done as well, so I'm going to go ahead and buy that. That's going to be... It's a smaller field, but soybeans are the best crop, money-wise. Okay, so that is done. He's working again. So I'm going to go over here and drop this off. I'll show you really quickly before I drop it off. You can also unload your harvester while he's working so he doesn't stop. You just drive up beside it and he'll stick the pipe out for you, and you get up underneath of it just like you did before, and he will unload as he works. This is good if you're trying to multitask and harvest the field, and then at the same time you're trying to cultivate the field or plant the field. So you've got the harvester running and the planter running at the same time, or the cultivator or whatever running at the same time behind it. You want to make sure that your harvester doesn't stop. You want to let it get a little bit of a head start, 3 or 4 rows over, and you don't want it to stop, because if it stops, whatever else you're running on that field that is going is going to catch up to it. So it's good to kind of unload while it's working sometimes, if you're doing that. I'm not going to be doing that right now, so it doesn't really matter. I just wanted to show you this mechanic. I'm going to go over here and grab this baler, and I'm going to start making straw bales. Now later on, we'll be able to actually use those straw bales when I buy the straw pellet and the hay pellet machine. And what we'll do there is we'll feed those bales into the machine, and it'll compress them, and it'll mix them with molasses and make a straw pellet or a hay pellet, depending on what you're putting in. And you can sell those as well. They sell for a lot more. And because they're compressed, you can store a great deal more than you can the loose in a silo. Now, you're not going to be putting your bales into silos. You're going to be storing those in the shed, or if you're like me, you're just going to chuck them over to the side somewhere and make a giant-ass pile. Now, if you're playing this game and you have the Seasons mod turned on, then you're going to want to make sure that you put your bales inside of a barn or something. Because if you leave them out in the weather and they get rained on, you're going to lose your bales. Same thing with piles of loose stuff. It's going to deteriorate over time if it's exposed to the weather. But since this isn't Seasons, this is just the normal game, it really doesn't matter. So you can see here that I am making bales, and what happens is the straw gets sucked up into the machine makes a bale out of it, ties it up, and then it shoots it out the back. You can fit a couple of these on before they will start falling off. You'll see one getting ready to fall off here in a second. And that's the basic process. You just follow the line and you make bales, and it just keeps pushing out, and then there you go, one falls off. You just continue that process, and it never has to stop until you run out of stuff to do, or unless you reach the bale limit. On console, there is a limit to the amount of bales that you can have. On PC, you can have as many bales as you want, but on console, there's only so much space. So you can only have 200 bales. So once you reach 200 bales, you can't make any more. That's something to keep in mind if you're trying to store a lot of either hay or grass or straw or something like that that you make bales out of. You will not be able to store any more than 200 in bales. Now, you can store loose as much as you want depending on the size of your silo. So if you have multiple silos and you buy silo extensions, you can literally store millions of liters of this stuff. It feels weird saying liters because when I think liters, I think a liquid measurement. But for some reason, everything is measured in liters on this game. I don't quite understand why, but I'm just going to go with it because it doesn't really matter, I guess. Once I get a little bit closer to my harvester, because I'm moving much quicker than he is, so I will catch back up to him. And once I get to like one row away from him, I will stop and pick these up so you'll be able to see how the auto load trailer works. So you can imagine as you're sitting here playing this, you're just chilling, man. You're just relaxing. It is calming. It is wonderful. It's great stress relief. I used to play this game after a really tough day. I'd come home, like when I first put my first novel out, everything was fine. And then all of a sudden, things got crazy because it got popular. And I started doing a lot of shows, like radio shows and stuff like that, promoting the book. And then I started having all these book signings and all this stuff going on. And sometimes it would get kind of hectic and stressful. You know, you go out and you do a signing and you got to get back home, and then you got 3 different shows you're supposed to be on that day, and it's just kind of, I know, first world problems. I get it. It's really not a problem at all, but it can be a hectic day is my point. So after all of that, I would just come home and turn this on and just kind of veg out and just drive in lines, basically picking up hay and picking up straw and harvesting crops. And that was wonderful stress relief. Now I'm going to go ahead, before I pick those up, I'm going to go ahead and get the trailer so I can pick them up, because I just realized I told you I was going to pick up the bales, but I never went and got the trailer to do so. So without it, I really can't pick it up. Now, one thing you'll definitely see during this series is me roll this tractor or any of the other tractors I buy. I guarantee you I will crash them at some point. Same thing with the pickup truck if I buy that. The only thing I haven't really crashed that often on this game is the harvesters, and that's simply because they go so damn slow. But pretty much anything that gets a little bit of speed to it, you can rest assured I'm going to take a turn too fast and I'm going to flip it. Sometimes you can get it to turn back on its wheels. Sometimes you got to come out there with like a wheel loader or a front loader or something and flip it back over. I'm going to take a little bit different path to get to the store this time, so y'all can see the bridge and some of the other area. I'll drive through town so you can see that. You can also restore your vehicle back to the shop. So, like, say you're driving along and you're getting ready to go across a bridge or something, and you think, you know, I've got enough time. I can reach over there and take a drink, or I can grab that Twinkie or that cookie over there and you know, bring it over and start eating it before I get to the bridge. No problem. But turns out you didn't have enough time, and you kind of misjudge where you are on the map. And short story is you go flying off the side of the bridge or something and end up deep in the water, and now you're stuck. You can't get out. There's no way you can pull it out with anything else, so you're just stuck. Well, you can restore that thing back to the shop, and then you just have to get back in it and drive it all the way back over to your farm. So that's a nice little feature, and you don't really do actual damage to the vehicles in the game, so it really doesn't matter if you wreck them into stuff. I mean, it doesn't break them so they don't work. And I crash them all the time. And you can also run over the people that are walking around. You don't actually run them over, I guess. You just kind of go right through them like they're not even there, like they're ghosts. Which kind of makes you wonder if there are actual people that live in this town, or if they are all just ghosts. Because you can run right... Watch, I'll do it. Well, no, I won't, because he's going to be on the sidewalk. I'll do it at some point. I'll go right through somebody, and you'll be able to see it. I mean, you just literally go right through them like they're not even there. You don't, however, do that with the cars. When you have the traffic turned on, There's all kinds of cars and stuff on the road, and it becomes a big pain in the ass trying to get through, especially if you're trying to move a harvester. You know, one of those big harvesters, like the Ideal or one of the big John Deeres or something like that. You're trying to get that thing down the road. Let's say you have a header on it, like the header for like your cereal grains and stuff, and it's a 12 or 14 foot header, and you're trying to get that damn thing down the road. You don't barely have any space anyway, and then you got cars coming everywhere. That is a tremendous pain in the butt. Plus the fact that literally you'll just get stuck behind somebody who's going real slow and you can't get by them. So that's why I turn the traffic off, because I ain't got time to deal with that. I'm trying to relax when I play this game, man. I'm not trying to be stressed out and have road rage, be screaming at imaginary drivers on the road to get up the damn road. It's kind of funny how traffic makes you nuts like that sometimes. Because it seems like if somebody's in front of you and they're going too slow, it really drives you crazy. And they're an idiot. You know, you're like, come on, you damn idiot, get up the road. And if you're the idiot that's going real slow and somebody gets behind you and is tailgating you and honking and acting an ass, you kind of feel like, what is wrong with this person? They're out of their damn minds. They're maniacs or something. They're trying to drive too fast. I think somebody did a thing on that once. It might have been George Carlin or somebody like that. I forget what the actual bit was. It was damn funny. It was something along those lines. But it was true. Whatever his actual joke on that was, it was absolutely true. Because I remember listening to it and thinking, you know, you what, man, you got a point. That is exactly right. Everybody has their own internal speed that they feel comfortable at. Yeah, that harvester's already done again. But I don't have anything else going on in the field, so I'm going to go ahead and pick these up so you can see how it works. See, they just pop right on. Easy cheesy. You don't even have to slow down if you can drive properly. You can just roll through and pick them all up. And you can collect from both sides, so I'm going to drive right in the middle of both of these. And I'll show you something else that's kind of cool. The bales that are still in the baler, you can also pick up with the autoload trailer. Check this out. It's kind of goofy, but I like it. All right, let's go over here and unload this harvester so we can get back to work. Now, a lot of people will do all of this themselves. They don't like hiring workers, and they will harvest the entire field and they will plant the entire field. And the harvesting of the entire field, I don't mind. That's nice and relaxing, and it's kind of, in a perverse way, really pleasurable, because it's kind of the same pleasure you get out of mowing the lawn. You know, when you get on your mower, or if you have a tractor or whatever you mow with, and you kind of go back and forth and you see that design in the ground. It's kind of that same satisfaction you get from doing this. It's where as you go, you see it disappearing. It's kind of cool. But the planting of it, I don't like to do myself as much. The cultivating isn't that bad to do yourself, because there's a big difference between what the ground looks like before you cultivate it and what it looks like after you cultivate it. But the planting is a little bit more difficult, because there's not a whole lot of difference in the way it looks. So sometimes, especially as it starts to get dark, you kind of lose track of where you've already planted, because you can't see it. It doesn't appear much different. I mean, it's a little bit different, but your eyes will start to play tricks on you. And you're like, did I plant there or not? I can't quite tell. And that drives me absolutely nuts. So I don't do it myself. I just let the workers do it. Sometimes I'll cultivate by myself if I don't have anything else going on. Sometimes I'll harvest by myself. But I like to hire the workers to do a lot of it, so that I'm free to run around and do the managing part dirt and do everything else I want to do. Now, here's a bunch of different places I can sell this. We have the shop over there. We have the shop where I'm at. We have the Pacific Grain over here by the other field we bought. We'll use that one for that field. And I think that's all of them that we have. Nope, one more. The Wright Agricultural Shop up there. Yeah, that's all. Okay, so then what you do is you go over here to this screen, and that's your prices screen. And it'll tell you at each of the different places what your crop is worth. So if you're worried about making the most money, you simply find the biggest number and you go to that shop. The one right here where we are is in the top 2. So for me, that's good enough. That means I don't have to drive all the way across the map. I can just simply sell right here. So I'll show you that process. It's real simple. You just drive onto the grate, dump your stuff. Now, wheat and barley is not worth a bunch. They're the cheapest crops, I think. I think potatoes might be cheaper, but with potatoes you get a ton of them when you harvest them, so it kind of makes up for it. But these are definitely low down on the list of what they're worth. But yeah, you just unload into this, and for 14,000 liters I will get probably, if I had to guess, about $8,000, somewhere in that range, which isn't great, but yeah, $8,607. But you saw it didn't take long to fill this thing up to make that money. And as you can see, there's a lot of field left. A very, very small portion of the field has actually been done. So you multiply that 8,000 by however many times I'm going to do it. Probably, I would say, around 10, or maybe even a little bit more. Then you're talking in the ballpark of $80,000. So it's worth it for a bigger field, but also you're going to be selling these hay bales. Now, for right now, we're just going to be selling them as hay bales. But once I get the money to buy the pellet machine, we will be making pellets out of them and selling them as pellets. And that is worth a hell of a lot more. For a full tractor trailer load, which is around 70,000 liters, you're going to make a lot of money. You're probably going to make like $90,000 or something off that. So that's substantial. Whereas if you sell it as straw, you're going to make way, way less. I don't know exactly what 70,000 liters of straw would even sell for, but I know that it's not a lot. You'll be lucky if you get 25 grand out of it. That's what I'd probably say. So there's a substantial difference in the price if you make pellets out of it. Now the pellets is a rather new addition to the game. It's a mod that you can download that they just made not too long ago. So before that, basically you would only mess with this straw if you were just starting out and wanted to make a little bit extra cash, like we are now, or if you had animals. Because if you're running cows or pigs or something like that, you're going to need this straw, because you got to put it in their pens for them so that they can sleep in it, and it gets mixed with their waste and it becomes manure that you can sell or use to fertilize your fields. But you need the straw for them. So you'll be picking this up, you'll be baling it and storing it, or you'll be picking it up loose with a loading wagon and dumping it in your silo. One of the two. If you have a store anything silo. If you don't, you have to buy a hay barn to put it in, because a hay barn will hold straw and hay. I'm debating whether or not I want to go ahead and try to buy the pellet machine. I can afford it right now, and I will make substantially more money. But the problem is how much horsepower it's going to take to run it. I'm not going to be able to run it with what I have now. I'm going to have to buy a large tractor. I don't remember right off the top of my head what the horsepower is for the machine. I'll check here in a little bit. But I think I'm going to need a large tractor that has around 400 horse, because I think it's in the 300s somewhere horsepower that you need to operate that machine. And this thing only has 145, so there's no way I can even operate it yet. I have to buy a better tractor. And the tractor that I usually buy is going to be around 300 grand or a little bit more. So when you add all that together, you're talking 600 just for the machine and the tractor. And then I have to buy the rack system that hooks up to the pellet machine that I can load the bales on so that the bales can go into it. And I think that's around 30 grand. I don't remember off the top of my head. So you're looking at pushing around 650,000, somewhere in that range, a little bit less than that, to get set up to do that. And that's more than I have. Now I can go and I can take out a loan from the bank if I want to and repay it every day with interest. But I don't really think that's going to be necessary yet, because I can simply sell the crops in these fields and work my way up to it. Or if I want, I can just throw on the subsidy mod and have all the money in the world. But for the purposes of this series, I want to try to do it legitimately. Because once you start kind of giving yourself all the money you could ever want, the game kind of loses some of its fun, because that struggle isn't there anymore to build up, and that's part of the beauty of it. Once you can kind of do everything you want, then you kind of get bored, because all you're doing is the same thing over and over and over again, and there's no purpose. You're just trying to make more money. Hell, I had a save on this game before where I made over $1 billion. And I still didn't max out the money. I was trying to max out the money and see how much money you could have before it wouldn't register any more money, before the numbers wouldn't go up anymore. And I got over $1 billion and it didn't stop. So then I thought, well, hell, that means I'm going to have to go to at least 10 billion to see. And I never got there. But it takes a hell of a long time to build up a substantial amount of money, because the stuff you're selling is not worth a lot. I mean, my first load here was $8,000. And as I said, I need $650,000 to get started making the pellets, just so that I can sell the straw for more money. The harvester that I would like to buy, if I buy the Ideal, which is a nice big fast one, that's around 400 grand. And for each of the headers you need two of them to be able to harvest both types of crops. You're talking, I think, around another 100 grand a piece for those, somewhere in that range. So that's another 600 grand by the time it's all said and done. If you want to buy a semi-trailer, that's 70 grand. If you want to buy the truck that can haul it, that's another $100 and some thousand, probably about 120. So very quickly, you're talking millions and millions of dollars to get yourself set up to do everything you want. Say you want to do cows. You think, I'd love to do cows. That'd be fun, because you could, sell the milk and take care of them, and they can have babies and all that stuff. That's all fun. Well, you got to pay around 300 grand for the large enclosure that can hold 400 cows. And then you have to pay another 25 grand for your water tank so that you can give them water. And if you want the big tanker truck for milk, so that you can sell decent amounts of milk at a time, so that you don't kind of lose the price, then you're talking another 60, 70,000 there. Then you have to buy another machine that mixes the food so that you can make total mix rations, because that's the best stuff to feed them. You're talking another $120,000 there for one that can drive on its own, that you don't have to waste a tractor hauling around. So as you can see, by the time you get there, you're talking another $500,000, $600,000 or something before you're completely set up to actually do cows. So these things cost a great deal of money. So there's always that temptation to just say, you know what, I need this. Whatever this piece of equipment is, I need it right now. I don't want to sell, like let's say the palletizing deal. I don't want to sell all of these bales for almost no money when I could make pellets out of them. And I could make a lot more money. But I don't have the money to buy the pellet machine and everything I need. So I'm just going to set up this government subsidy just for a couple hours. Just long enough to get the money to do this stuff. And then I'll take it back off. It's easy to say that. And then the next thing you need comes along. Well, I really did want that other harvester, and it was only $400,000. So if I put it on for another couple hours, and I could buy that, and then I'll stop. You see where this goes. Over and over and over again, you say, well, I'll just do it a little bit. And the next thing you know, you have all the equipment you need, and there's no real purpose to struggling to build anything anymore. And you kind of get bored. So then you say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start another game, but this time I'm going to be good. And that's kind of the way it goes with this game, so at least for me. So I'm going to show you this mod. It is so cool. This saves you a ton of trouble. It is a sell anything mod. It's a multi-selling station mod. And you'll get to see a little bit of how you go about placing something on this game. It needs to be green. That tells you can place it there. And notice the price on the menu over here on the left side of the screen. It says buy $10,000. I just placed it down. It costs $10,000. So when it says buy for $10,000, that's letting you know it's perfectly level. You're not going to pay any extra for landscaping. That's how you know that you can easily drive right up on it without having any problem at all, because it's going to be level and flat. If it would have said buy for $15,000, you know you're going to have it raised up some to where it's going to be more difficult to drive up on. If it gets raised up too much, you just simply can't drive up on it. So that's the basic principle of how that works. It works the same if you're placing buildings or barns or animal pens or anything like that that you buy in place. You're going to have that same thing to deal with, of trying to find a place that's level and flat where you won't distort the ground too much if you put it down. That's why I recommend this field as your home base. I know it's kind of out of the ordinary to pick a field and turn that into your farm, because you're wasting a field that you could be growing crops on. I get that. But you got to kind of think out of the box and realize that this is a gigantic, fairly flat area. So I can make a large farm here without any trouble, because everything's going to be relatively flat. There'll be a couple spots where it raises up and down a little bit, but for the most part, the majority of this field is going to be nice and flat for me. So I'll be able to get a farm set up here nice. If you don't want to use the sell anything mod, you have a sell point right here on this field. You also have a manure sell point on this field. It's on the far left beside the sell point for your grain and stuff. This field also offers buying and selling of animals. That's where the animal sell point and buy point is on this field. It's that building up here, right here to my left, that has the giant cow on it. That's the building where you can buy and sell animals. So everything is here that you need. For me, I think this is the perfect spot. The only downside of it is it's on top of this hill. So every time you come here from anywhere else, you got to climb up that damn hill. And if you're trying to haul something, it's harder to get up the hill. It can go very slow getting up the hill sometimes when you're hauling heavy things. But that's a small price to pay to be able to set everything up the way you want it. can also buy houses on this game and place them down. The only thing a house is useful for is sleeping through the night. Once it becomes nighttime, it gets very, very dark, and you're not going to be able to see anything. You have headlights on your equipment, but it doesn't light up much. You can also buy spotlights that you can place around your farm and everything like that to light it up, but you're probably better off just sleeping through the night. That's what I would say. So they sell everything from big, nice, fancy farmhouses all the way down to like lawn chairs and welcome mats that you can use to sleep through the night. I like the lawn chairs. That's my favorite thing because they're tiny, they're out of the way, you can easily see them, and it doesn't take up much space. Because I don't want to waste space on a building that's pretty much useless other than sleeping through the night. So I'm going to go in here to baling technology. I want to show you this pellet machine real quick. Okay, that's a baler. That is a baler. Okay, this is it here. This machine will take your straw bales and your hay bales and turn them into pellets. But you also have to have this piece of equipment here. This hooks onto the side of it for $31,000, and that is what you put your bales on that'll feed them into the machine. Usually you're going to do that with some sort of either forklift or low loader or something like that. But if you get the smaller baler, it makes 1,000-liter bales. So you'll be able to pick those up with your hand and just throw them in. That's what I do. Because it becomes kind of a pain in the ass picking up those bales over and over and over again with a piece of equipment. I mean, it's not bad, but I'm going through here now and just trying to check the horsepower on all these tractors. It looks like it's going to definitely have to be a large tractor. I'll show you the one that I normally get. I normally buy this Valtra here, and it starts with 350 horsepower, which is enough to operate that machine. But if you go down here to engine setup and upgrade the engine, you can see I have 400 horsepower now in this machine. So that's what I normally do. I like the Valtra because it's pretty quick. It'll travel 31 miles an hour, which doesn't sound fast, but for the tractors on this game, that's pretty quick. I can also make the color anything I want, which is sweet as well. And I like to go with good old redneck orange, but sometimes I'll make a farm that's all purple for staring, or I'll make a farm that's all blue. One time, my wife got into watching me play this for some reason, and so I made an all pink farm for her, where every piece of equipment I bought and used on the farm was bright pink. At least every piece that I had the opportunity to change the color of. Some things you can't, like the harvesters you can't. But everything else was bright pink. And she got a kick out of that. And then she got bored of watching it, so I changed everything back to redneck orange. So that's going to pretty much do it for this episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I will probably do more videos on this game because this is my absolute favorite game. I play this quite a bit, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Until I speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do I. Bye-bye.